Ladies and gentlemen, burn this into your brain. You can't live a new life with the same old mind. You can't chase success while dragging the weight of weak thoughts. And you will never become powerful until your mind becomes disciplined. Your results are the mirror of your mindset. No one succeeds by accident. Greatness is first a decision, then a lifestyle. The man who wins is the one who first masters his own thoughts, not the battlefield. You must learn to think on purpose, not by habit, not by fear, not by other people's opinions. You are not a victim of your life. You are a product of your thoughts. If your thinking is full of excuses, your life will be full of regret. If your thinking is saturated with doubt, your days will be poisoned with inaction. But if your thinking is bold, focused, and full of belief, your life will become unstoppable. Destroy every limiting belief. They are chains forged in your own mind. Break them. Stop feeding your mind trash. Guard it like your most valuable asset. Speak only what you want to build. Never speak weakness into your destiny. You have the power to think yourself into discipline, into wealth, into courage, into a legacy. But you must control your mind like a general commands an army. No compromise, no distraction, no delay. The world bows to the man or woman who owns their mind. Not the smartest, not the luckiest, not the most connected, but the most mentally relentless. So make the decision. You will no longer tolerate weak thinking. You will no longer live a recycled life. You will no longer be a prisoner to the past. You will take control of your thoughts, and in doing so, change everything. Because once you do that, the world has no choice but to follow. Thought is the origin of all action. Nothing moves until the mind commands it. Every achievement, every failure, every decision, every delay, it all begins with a single thought. The moment you understand that your thinking is the master key, the moment you fully accept that your life is not happening to you, it is being shaped by you, that's the moment your transformation begins. You see, the world doesn't respond to your intentions. It doesn't move because you wish things were better. It responds to your thinking, how you perceive yourself, how you see obstacles, how you frame possibilities. If your thinking is small, your life will shrink. If your thinking is chaotic, your life will be unstable. But if your thinking is focused, bold, and relentless, your life has no choice but to rise. Most people never rise, not because they're incapable, but because they never train their mind to rise. They wake up thinking the same tired thoughts they had yesterday, replaying the same fears, feeding the same doubts, and wondering why nothing changes. But change does not begin outside. It begins in the inner chamber of your mind. That's the battlefield. That's the throne room. That's the architect's table where your future is drawn. If your thoughts are constantly wrapped in fear, failure is guaranteed. If your mind is flooded with excuses, progress becomes impossible. You cannot outwork a defeated mind. You cannot hustle past a belief that says you're not good enough. That belief will always pull you back, sabotage your progress, and crush your momentum unless you break it at the root. Understand this: you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are, and what you are is determined by how you think. Want to change your income? Change how you think about value, about money, about discipline. Want to change your relationships? Change how you think about respect, loyalty, communication. Want to change your future? Then change how you think when no one's watching, when you're tired, when you're doubting, when it hurts. The strongest version of you is already inside you, but it is trapped under years of weak, defeated, lazy, scared thinking. Every time you say, I can't, you bury it deeper. Every time you say, maybe later, you chain it tighter. And every time you complain, every time you blame, every time you make excuses, you train your mind to serve failure. You train your mind to accept mediocrity. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. No one is coming to save you. No breakthrough is coming until you decide to upgrade your mind. No miracle, no motivation, no mentor can help you if your thoughts are toxic. Because your life will never rise higher than your mindset. Period. You must become the master of your thoughts, not a victim, not a prisoner, a master. That means discipline. That means intentional thinking. That means daily war against every lie your past tried to brand on your identity. It means catching every thought that says impossible and replacing it with inevitable. It means refusing to let fear set the tone. It means flooding your mind with purpose and starving it of doubt. Some people say mindset is just a piece of the puzzle. That's a lie. Mindset is the frame that holds the entire puzzle together. Without the right thinking, even the right tools, opportunities, and talents fall flat. But with the right thinking, even disadvantages become weapons. The person who believes deeply enough, consistently enough, will find a way to win. Always. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If the outer is full of chaos, it's because the inner has no clarity. If your results are stuck, it's because your thoughts are stuck in cycles of survival instead of growth. The real shift comes when you stop asking, why is life like this? And start asking, what have I allowed in my mind that created this? That question right there is the doorway to freedom. Feed your mind like your future depends on it, because it does. Protect it from distraction, pollution, noise. Pour into it every day with purpose, direction, hunger. Speak life into it. Think thoughts of strength. Visualize yourself already in the place you want to be. Think like the person who already has what you want. Think like the leader. Think like the champion. Think like the finisher. Because once the mind is made up, once it is locked in, sharp and clear, the body follows, the habits align, and the world bends in response. It all starts with one truth: thought is the origin of all action. You change your thinking, you change your life. And no force on earth can stop a man or woman who has decided to think differently. Not now, not ever. Every success starts with a decision in the mind, not a hope, not a wish, or not a vague intention, a decision, clear, definite, unshakable. That's the root of all achievement. Until your mind decides, nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing begins. People walk through life waiting for opportunity, for motivation, for the right time, but the ones who rise, the ones who win, are those who stop waiting and decide with absolute clarity that they will not settle for anything less than the life they were born to live. A true decision burns the bridge behind you. It closes the door to excuses, to second-guessing, to retreat. The moment you decide, truly decide, your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your actions align. Obstacles that once seemed immovable begin to shrink, not because the world has changed, but because you have, because your mind has drawn a line in the sand. And from that moment forward, you are no longer asking, no longer hoping. You are creating. There is no success without this internal shift. You can read every book, attend every seminar, chase every shortcut, but until your mind makes the decision that nothing less than greatness is acceptable, you will stay stuck in the same cycle. You will keep dabbling, drifting, waiting. But when you decide, fully, firmly, everything changes. The mind stops negotiating with fear. It stops listening to the opinions of weak voices. It locks onto a vision and pulls the rest of your life toward it. You must understand that indecision is the breeding ground of failure. It is a silent killer. It keeps men and women paralyzed in the middle, the most dangerous place to be, not committed, not free, not progressing, not quitting, or just existing, hoping something external will make the choice for them, but nothing will. Life will not crown you until you decide you are worthy of the crown. Until you make the internal declaration, I will win, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs, no matter what I must become. That kind of decision does not come from emotion. It is not based on how you feel. It is forged in discipline, in clarity, in purpose. It is the act of planting your flag in the ground and saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm going. And nothing, no failure, no fear, no weakness will stop me from becoming the person I've decided to be. You have the power to make that decision right now, not next week, not when life calms down, not when someone else gives you permission, now. Because the life you want is not waiting at the end of some path, it is waiting behind the decision to begin walking it. Too many people stand at the starting line, staring at the distance, counting the reasons they might fail. Champions don't think like that. Champions decide they are capable, decide they are worthy, and then move forward whether they feel ready or not. You cannot fake decision. You cannot pretend to be committed. Life will test you. The path will challenge your resolve. And every time you feel like quitting, you will return to that one moment when you made the decision. If it was weak, you will break. But if it was real, if it was forged with intention and backed by purpose, you will rise, you will endure, and eventually you will win. Understand this, the world will not open up for the hesitant. It opens for those who move with conviction. People feel your energy. Opportunities respond to decisiveness. There is a frequency to belief. And once you're operating at that level, once you decide in your bones that success is inevitable, not optional, doors open that were previously invisible. But the first door is always in your own mind. That is the door most never walk through. They dance around it, they knock on it, they ask others to open it for them, but the key is always in their hands. It's the decision, the moment of power when they stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of their destiny. And make no mistake, your life will always follow the direction of your dominant decisions. Decide to be average, and everything in your world will adjust to keep you there. Decide to be excellent, and everything inside you will begin to shift in that direction. But you must reinforce that decision daily. You must align your habits, your thoughts, your environment with what you've declared. Success doesn't come to those who want it. It comes to those who decide they will have it and refuse to be denied. So if you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of watching others rise while you stay stuck, if you're tired of wondering what it would feel like to finally live at your potential, then make the decision. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because every success begins in the same place, with a decision in the mind that says, it's already mine, and I will not stop until the world agrees. Your mind is either your prison or your palace. It is either the thing that chains you to fear, doubt, and mediocrity, or the thing that frees you to rise, to conquer, to create a life of power. Every thought you allow, every belief you accept, every inner conversation you entertain either reinforces your cage or builds your throne. Most people walk through life imprisoned by a mind they've never taken the time to understand, never trained, never challenged, and yet they wonder why they feel stuck, why they can't break through, why nothing ever changes. The answer is brutal in its simplicity. Their thoughts are not serving them, they are enslaving them. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, but it is also the most dangerous weapon when left undisciplined. If you don't command it, it will command you. If you don't tell it where to go, it will take you where you don't want to be. The mind left unchecked becomes a master of fear, a creator of excuses, an expert at limitation. It will convince you that your best days are behind you, that you're not enough, that your dreams are too far, too unrealistic, too late. It will whisper lies so consistently that you begin to treat them as truth. And once that happens, you don't even need a real prison. The bars are built from your own belief. But just as the mind can become a prison, it can also become a palace, a place of strength, vision, discipline, and clarity, a fortress that shields you from the noise of the world, a command center that directs your actions with purpose and power. To build this palace, you must first tear down the walls of limitation brick by brick. Every doubt, every lie, every excuse must be removed and replaced with truth. That truth begins with one foundational reality: you are in control. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your environment. You are the thinker of your thoughts, the gatekeeper of your mind, and what you allow to grow in it will shape every corner of your life. If you feed your mind with negativity, it will give birth to a negative life. If you constantly rehearse your failures, you will be paralyzed by them. If you view yourself as a victim, you will never act like a victor. But if you choose to fill your mind with empowering thoughts, if you speak to yourself with certainty, if you hold a vision of where you're going with unwavering faith, then your mind becomes your greatest asset. Then it becomes the palace where your best self is built, protected, and unleashed. Look at anyone who has ever achieved greatness. They did not arrive there on talent alone. They won first in the arena of the mind. They spoke victory when others saw defeat. They saw opportunity where others saw crisis. They trained their minds like athletes train their bodies, relentlessly, daily, with intensity and intention. And because of that, their minds became a palace, a place of power, peace, and strategic action. That palace became the foundation of everything they created. You can have that, but not without war, not without choosing moment by moment to reject the thoughts that weaken you and replace them with the thoughts that strengthen you. That is the work. That is the battle. The hardest fight you'll ever face is the one inside your own mind, because it never stops, but neither can you. Every morning you wake up, your mind is either preparing you to rise or pulling you back into chains, and the difference is determined by how intentional you are. Do you guard what you listen to? Do you monitor the words you speak over yourself? Do you check the tone of your inner voice, or do you let your mind drift, aimless, reactive, full of noise from the outside world? If you want to build a palace, you must become a builder. That means structure. That means blueprint. That means discipline. You build it thought by thought, choice by choice, habit by habit. And once it begins to form, once you taste the mental freedom and inner strength that comes with it, you will never go back to living like a prisoner again. This is your responsibility. No one can do it for you. But if you do it, if you commit to mastering your mind, to ruling your thoughts instead of being ruled by them, then your life will begin to reflect that inner mastery. You will walk with clarity, act with boldness, and respond with calm strength. You will no longer be tossed by circumstances because you will be anchored in truth. You will become unshakable, not because life is easy, but because your mind is trained. So choose wisely, choose daily, choose to build the palace, because your mind is either your prison or your palace, and you're the only one who holds the key. Negative thoughts are spiritual poison. They don't just weaken your mind, they rot your spirit. They infect your energy, your confidence, your belief in what's possible. Slowly, silently, they strip away your strength and blind you to your potential. And the most dangerous part, most people never even realize they're being poisoned. They think their thoughts are harmless, just passing feelings. But those feelings stack. They settle in your subconscious. And over time, they begin to build the prison walls of your life. You cannot hold greatness in your heart while you entertain garbage in your mind. Every time you allow a negative thought to go unchecked, you give it permission to grow roots. You give it power over your emotions, your choices, your momentum. A negative thought is never just a thought. It becomes a decision, a hesitation, a lowered standard. It becomes the quiet reason you hold back, the subtle excuse you carry, the invisible weight you drag into every room. People wonder why they feel stuck, why they can't get traction, why they sabotage their progress just when things start to move. The answer is almost always the same. Their mind is contaminated, filled with fear-based thinking, guilt-driven narratives, resentment, insecurity, jealousy, regret. These things don't just weigh you down, they poison your drive, they cloud your judgment, and worst of all, they make you doubt yourself. You can't think like a victim and live like a champion. You can't meditate on failure and expect to create success. You can't water the weeds in your mind and expect to harvest fruit in your life. You have to confront these toxic thoughts with fire. You have to treat them like enemies, not friends. They don't deserve a seat at your table. They don't get to define who you are or what you're capable of. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to what you're saying to yourself when no one is listening. Are you building yourself up or tearing yourself down? Are you speaking life or rehearsing pain? Most people wouldn't tolerate someone else speaking to them the way they speak to themselves. They're at war inside their own head every day and don't even realize it. Negative thoughts thrive in silence. That's why you must confront them, out loud if you have to. When fear says you're not ready, you say, I've been preparing for this moment my whole life. When doubt says you always fail, you respond, that was the old me, I don't live there anymore. You don't wait for the negative thoughts to disappear. You replace them, you override them, you out-talk them every single time. And this is not about fake positivity. This is about mental warfare. Because if you don't kill the poison will kill your purpose. You can't fulfill your calling with a mind full of conflict. You can't rise to your future with beliefs that keep dragging you back to your past. At some point, you have to declare war on the thoughts that no longer serve you. Every goal you've ever set, every dream you've ever had, every vision that once lit your soul on fire, it's still possible, but it's being smothered under the weight of negativity. You won't move toward it until you clear the fog, until you cleanse the mental environment you live in. That means becoming ruthless about what you allow in your head. That means cutting off the habits, voices, and inputs that feed your doubt. And yes, it's a fight. Because negativity is easy, it's passive, it's familiar. It sneaks in through fatigue, through frustration, through disappointment. But you are not powerless. You are not a slave to those thoughts unless you choose to be. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. And every time you silence a negative voice, you reclaim more of your power. Power to believe again. Power to move again. Power to build again. Your best life doesn't start with a plan. It starts with a clean mind. A healthy mind, a free mind, a mind that refuses to be poisoned anymore. You don't owe loyalty to the thoughts that broke you. You owe everything to the future that still waits for you to rise. And that future starts the moment you decide, I will no longer give space to anything in my mind that doesn't serve my purpose. It doesn't matter where the negativity came from, your past, your environment, other people. What matters is what you do with it now. Will you let it live, or will you evict it? Because every time you choose faith over fear, every time you choose belief over doubt, every time you choose clarity over confusion, you take another step toward freedom. So don't just think positive. Think powerfully. Think intentionally. Think victoriously. The world doesn't need another person consumed by negativity. It needs you, clear, focused, and fully alive. Because negative thoughts are spiritual poison. And you weren't born to die slow from the inside. You were born to rise, and that begins in your mind. You cannot outgrow your mindset. No matter how hard you work, how many goals you set, how much you want to succeed, if your thinking is small, your life will stay small. If your beliefs are rooted in limitation, your results will be limited. The level of your thinking sets the ceiling for your entire life. It doesn't matter how much talent you have, how many hours you put in, or how badly you want to break through. If your mindset is not aligned with growth, you will always find yourself pulled back to the level of your thinking. People try to upgrade their lives without upgrading their mindset. They chase new habits, new routines, new environments, but until they change how they think about themselves, about the world, about what's possible, they will always snap back to their default mental setting. You can put a person in a better situation, but if they still carry a broken mindset, they will sabotage it. They will shrink back into comfort. They will find ways to lose because winning doesn't fit the self-image they've accepted. Mindset is the master. It governs how you react to failure, how you handle success, how much pressure you can take, and how far you believe you can go. If you think like a victim, you'll live like one. If you believe you're average, you'll stay average. But when you start thinking like a leader, like a champion, like someone who cannot and will not be denied, that shift changes everything. Not because the world gets easier, but because you become stronger. Look at your life right now, every part of it, your finances, your health, your relationships, your career. All of it is a reflection of what you believe you deserve and what you believe is possible. If you've been stuck at the same level for too long, the problem isn't your circumstances, it's your mindset. Somewhere inside, there's a belief that's keeping you there. Maybe it says, this is as good as it gets. Or maybe it says, I always mess things up. Maybe it whispers, people like me don't make it. And as long as you allow that belief to live in your mind, your life will be chained to it. This is why people repeat patterns. They get a new job, but the same insecurities show up. They start a new relationship, but the same fears sabotage it. They make more money, but the scarcity mindset still controls their decisions. The surface changes, but the root, the mindset, stays the same. And until the root changes, the fruit stays the same too. There is no way around this truth. If you want to grow, you must outgrow your current way of thinking. You have to identify the beliefs that are holding you down and destroy them without mercy. You have to stop playing small because it's comfortable. You have to stop agreeing with the limitations that were passed down to you. Your future demands that you think differently, bigger, bolder, braver. And it's not just about thinking more positively. It's about thinking more powerfully. You have to believe that what you want is possible for you, not just for others. Not just in theory, for you. That means reprogramming the way you speak to yourself. That means monitoring the stories you tell yourself. That means rejecting the toxic thoughts that try to convince you to settle. Growth is uncomfortable because it requires letting go of familiar thoughts. The thoughts that used to protect you, the thoughts that once made sense when you were surviving but now hold you back when you're trying to thrive. You can't take a survival mindset into a season of success. It will always find a way to destroy what you've built. That's why growth isn't just about doing more. It's about thinking differently. It's about expanding what you believe is possible and then aligning your actions with that belief. Everything begins and ends with mindset. If you don't believe you're worthy, you'll push away the very things you say you want. If you believe you're always one step behind, you'll create a life that confirms it. But if you believe you're meant to rise, if you truly adopt the mindset of someone who is destined for greatness, then no setback can stop you, No failure can define you, and no fear can control you. It's time to check your mindset. Audit your thoughts. Are they lifting you or limiting you? Are they moving you forward or pulling you back? Are they based on truth or built on trauma, fear, and conditioning? Because you cannot outgrow your mindset. You will never become what you don't believe you can be. Your future is waiting, but it cannot rise above the limits of your thinking. So expand the vision, challenge the lies, build the belief system that matches the life you were born to live. Then watch how fast the world makes room for the new version of you. The subconscious accepts whatever you repeatedly feed it. It does not judge, question, or filter. It simply absorbs. Whether it's fear or faith, weakness or strength, failure or success, if you give it repetition, it takes it as truth. And once that truth is planted deep enough, it begins to shape every area of your life. Your habits, your decisions, your identity. Most people don't realize they are programming their own limits every day through the thoughts they allow and the words they repeat. They are feeding the mind poison and expecting power. Your subconscious is like fertile soil. It doesn't care what you plant. If you plant seeds of doubt, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant seeds of discipline, you'll grow consistency. If you plant resentment, you'll grow bitterness. If you plant purpose, you'll harvest passion. But you cannot sow garbage and expect greatness. You cannot fill your mind with excuses, negativity, and self-pity and then wonder why your life feels stagnant and out of control. The subconscious doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you rehearse. It listens to what you repeat with emotion. If every day you tell yourself, I can't, it's too hard, I always fail, I'm not good enough, your subconscious will accept those statements as commands. And once those commands are embedded, they begin to play out automatically in your life. You'll hesitate when it's time to act. You'll doubt when it's time to decide. You'll sabotage when it's time to rise. Not because you're incapable, but because your mind was programmed to believe it's impossible. You become what you consistently tell yourself you are. If you want to change your life, you must change what you feed your mind. You must take back control of your inner dialogue and be ruthless about what gets repeated. Every time you affirm your strength, your mind builds a new reference point. Every time you visualize your success, your subconscious begins to normalize it. Every time you take a small win and celebrate it, you're rewiring your internal identity. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. The subconscious is always listening. Every joke you make about your failure, every time you say, that's just the way I am, every moment you speak defeat over your life, you're feeding it something, and your future will reflect that diet. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of what you feed your mind on a daily basis. You cannot talk like a failure and expect to live like a champion. You cannot surround yourself with toxic voices and expect clarity. You cannot dwell on the worst-case scenario and expect to move with courage. The subconscious mirrors your focus. If you focus on loss, it amplifies fear. If you focus on growth, it amplifies hunger. This is why gratitude works. It's not about being soft. It's about training your mind to see possibility, not just problems. That shift rewires your default settings. It replaces survival mode with solution mode. It replaces reaction with creation. Repetition is the key. One powerful thought repeated with emotion becomes a belief. One belief repeated with conviction becomes a reality. This is not theory. It's neurological fact. The pathways in your brain are shaped by what you focus on most. You have the power to condition your mind for confidence, focus, strength, success, but only if you do the work of feeding it the right thoughts day after day until those thoughts become your identity. This is why affirmations matter. This is why what you listen to matters. This is why what you say to yourself when no one else is around matters. You are either programming your mind for power or leaving it open to be programmed by fear, culture, and past pain. And make no mistake, if you don't feed your mind intentionally, it will feed on whatever is loudest, most frequent, or most familiar. Often that means feeding on doubt, scarcity, and the voice of people who gave up on their own dreams. But you are not here to live by default. You are here to live by design. That design starts in the quiet place inside your own head, where thoughts become patterns and patterns become your path. Every thought you repeat becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. So feed it like a warrior. Feed it like your future depends on it, because it does. Feed it with courage. Feed it with vision. Feed it with discipline, belief, and clarity. Speak life into it when the world speaks fear. Remind it who you are and where you're going every single day. Because the subconscious accepts whatever you repeatedly feed it, and it will build your reality, one belief at a time. Circumstances don't define you. Your response to them does. Life will throw storms, setbacks, and pressure your way, but none of it has the power to determine your outcome unless you give it permission. Every person you admire, every leader, every success story you've ever heard, none of them were handed perfect conditions. They faced hardship, betrayal, loss, failure, but they refused to let their circumstances be their identity. They didn't ask, why me? They asked, what now? That question alone is the beginning of power. Most people get trapped by what happens to them. They let the economy, their past, a mistake, or someone else's words dictate how they see themselves. But your power is not in what happens, it's in how you respond. You are not what they did to you. You are not the failure. You are not the setback. You are who you choose to become after it. Your reaction becomes your reputation. Your choices under pressure become your legacy. You can either live by reaction or you can live by intention. Reaction says, this is too much. Reaction says, it's not fair. Reaction blames, complains, waits. But intention says, this will not break me. Intention says, watch what I build with this. Because the same fire that burns some people is the same fire that forges others. The difference is not the flame, it's the mindset. It's the decision to respond with strength instead of surrender. Pain is part of life. Struggle is unavoidable, but suffering is often a choice. It's what happens when you let the circumstance become a permanent definition instead of a temporary situation. And too many people let one chapter write their whole book. They let one loss define their value. They let one failure erase their potential. But greatness doesn't emerge from comfort. It emerges from challenge, from choosing to respond with courage, even when everything around you is falling apart. You are not the first to face obstacles. You won't be the last. But the question is, how will you respond when life demands more from you than you think you can give? Will you shrink back into blame and bitterness, or will you rise even if you have to crawl? Will you fold because things got hard, or will you fight for the future you were born to build? You cannot always control what happens to you, but you are always responsible for what happens in you. You can choose to guard your mind when chaos hits. You can choose to keep showing up when it's hard. You can choose to hold your vision even when your environment looks nothing like it. And in doing so, you take back the power that circumstances try to steal. It's easy to be focused when everything is going your way. It's easy to be positive when the money is flowing, the relationships are strong, and the momentum is high. But life tests you in the valleys, not the peaks. What you do in the dark determines what you'll experience in the light. Champions are not born from ease, they are revealed in resistance. This is why you must train your mind to respond, not react. You must condition your emotions like an athlete trains their body every single day. Because life is coming with its storms whether you're ready or not. And if your only plan is to panic, you'll drown. But if you prepare to respond with vision, with principle, with strength, you will rise. When you respond from purpose, you shift the power dynamic. You stop being the victim and start becoming the author. You start shaping your own story. Every response becomes a stroke of the pen that writes your destiny. Your response to rejection becomes resilience. Your response to pressure becomes power. Your response to loss becomes perspective. That's how the strongest people are built. Not from perfect lives, but from strong responses to imperfect ones. Stop giving your circumstances more power than they deserve. That bad break is not your identity. That betrayal is not your label. That mistake is not your destiny. You are not a reflection of what happened. You are a reflection of how you rise after it. And every time you choose strength over self-pity, belief over bitterness, progress over paralysis, you become the person your future needs you to be. So if life has hit you hard, good, let it, take the hit. Then get up, respond. Decide that no matter what comes your way, you will not bend into weakness. You will not settle for average. You will not become what hurt you. You will become what healed you. Because circumstances don't define you, your response to them does. And when you take full ownership of that response, you become unstoppable. Desire plus belief plus discipline equal to transformation. This is the formula, the foundation, the truth that separates those who talk about change from those who live it. Transformation doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't come to the wishful or the half-committed. It's earned, created, demanded through an inner fire that begins with desire, is powered by belief, and brought to life through discipline. Remove any one piece of the equation and the entire system collapses. Desire is the spark. It's where it all begins. Without desire, you don't move. You stay passive, numb, indifferent. Desire is that relentless pull that tells you, this isn't enough. I was made for more. It's what wakes you up when comfort tries to lull you back to sleep. But desire alone isn't enough. There are millions of people who want a better life but never get it because their desire was never matched with belief. Belief is the engine. It takes that spark and gives it direction. Without belief, your desire stays locked in fantasy. You'll crave success, but you'll never chase it with conviction. You'll want to rise, but you'll keep sabotaging yourself because deep down you don't believe it's possible for you. That's the silent killer. Most people are defeated not by their enemies, not by their environment, but by the voice in their own head that says you can't. You must believe with everything in you that the life you see in your mind can become your reality. Not just hope, believe. That belief must become the lens through which you see every challenge, every decision, every step. It's what pushes you to take action when nothing around you makes sense. It's what keeps you standing when results are slow and the world is silent. Belief is the bridge between desire and action. It turns maybe someday into I will, no matter what. But even belief isn't enough without the third and final force, discipline. Discipline is the structure. It's the force that turns energy into execution. Everyone is motivated for a day. Everyone feels inspired after a speech, a video, a high moment. But only the disciplined rise consistently. Only the disciplined show up when motivation dies. Only the disciplined keep pushing when emotions fade, when no one's clapping, when results haven't arrived yet. Discipline is what makes transformation real. It's not sexy. It's not loud. It's not posted on social media. It's built in silence. Early mornings, late nights, small decisions, repeated commitments. It's telling yourself yes when comfort screams no. It's holding the vision steady while everything around you demands you quit. It's choosing growth over feelings. And without it, all the desire and belief in the world will amount to nothing. True transformation happens when desire fuels the fire, belief directs the flame, and discipline keeps it burning long after the excitement fades. That's when the change becomes permanent. That's when a new identity is formed. You no longer try to be consistent, you are consistent. You no longer hope to win, you expect to win, because your actions have earned that expectation. This is where most people fall short. They start strong, they want more, they believe for a moment, but when things get hard, when distractions show up, when old patterns return, they drop the discipline, and when discipline drops, belief weakens. When belief weakens, desire dies. The whole thing falls apart, not because they couldn't succeed, but because they didn't protect the system that leads to transformation. Every person who's ever changed their life, truly changed it, followed this path. They burned with desire. They planted belief so deeply in their mind that no failure could uproot it. And they showed up with discipline day after day after day, whether they felt like it or not. That's not talent. That's not luck. That's not timing. That's mastery of self. And anyone can achieve it, but only a few ever will, because most refuse to do the inner work. Transformation is not something you stumble into. It's not a surprise result. It's the product of decision, repetition, and self-leadership. You want to change your body, your mindset, your income, your relationships, your legacy. The formula doesn't change. Desire, belief, discipline. Nothing less will do. And anything more is just distraction. So if you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of talking about change instead of living it, if you're ready to become the person you've only dreamed of being, then burn the excuses. Feed the desire. Lock in the belief. And train your discipline until it becomes who you are. Because desire without belief is wasted energy. Belief without discipline is empty hope. But when all three are united, desire plus belief plus discipline, That's when you don't just improve, you transform. If you change your mind, your world has no choice but to change. That's not philosophy, it's law. Your mind is the command center. Every action, every word, every outcome flows directly from what you think, what you believe, and what you allow to dominate your inner world. Nothing outside you shifts permanently until something inside you shifts first. You can try to change your habits, your environment, your relationships, even your appearance, but unless you change the mindset behind it all, you'll find yourself in the same cycles, repeating the same patterns, getting the same results. Real change doesn't happen on the surface. It begins in the mind. You don't get a new life with the same old thoughts. That's where most people get stuck. They try to force change externally while their internal programming still clings to fear, doubt, limitation, and old identities. It's like painting over rust. Looks better for a moment, but the decay underneath eventually breaks through. But when you change the way you think, when you shift your beliefs, question your assumptions, and plant new mental patterns, everything else follows, automatically, naturally, powerfully. People say they want a better life, but they carry a mindset that contradicts that desire. They want wealth, but think in terms of scarcity. They want love, but believe they're unworthy. They want growth, but resist discomfort. This internal conflict is why progress feels like a grind, because part of their mind is still at war with what they're trying to create. But when the mind aligns with the vision, when your thoughts match your goals, change accelerates. It doesn't mean it gets easier, but it gets clearer. You stop self-sabotaging, you stop second-guessing, you stop quitting every time things get tough, and that alone changes everything. Your mind has the power to reshape how you see the world, and how you see the world shapes how you move through it. If your mind is fixed on problems, the world will appear dark, hopeless, and unfair. But if your mind is trained to focus on solutions, growth, and lessons, the same world becomes full of opportunity. The facts don't change, but your interpretation does. And your interpretation determines your energy, your choices, and ultimately your results. This is not about delusion. It's about ownership. You get to choose the meaning of every event, every failure, every delay. You get to decide whether a closed door is a dead end or a redirection. That choice is made in the mind. And once you begin to choose power over pity, strength over blame, and responsibility over victimhood, the world begins to respond. People treat you differently. Challenges affect you differently. New opportunities begin to show up, not because the world changed, but because you did. Most people wait for the world to change so they can finally feel better. They wait for the economy to improve, for someone to believe in them, for conditions to be perfect. But those who rise, those who lead, don't wait. They go inward first. They decide to change their mindset before the evidence shows up. They choose to think like the person they want to become before they feel ready. And because they lead with belief, action, and mindset, the world shifts to meet their level of intention. You don't need to force outcomes when your mind is aligned. A focused mind produces consistent action. A confident mind attracts bold opportunities. A growth mindset turns losses into fuel. When your inner world is strong, the outer world becomes a reflection of that strength. You walk into rooms differently.